everybody, how you doing? My name's Dave, and if you've also got a crush on all the Eventide's apps, you can call me Daveypoo, the Mobile Music Minstrel. How you doing? So, Eventide just dropped a new app on us today, CrushStation, which is really awesome. Now, I've spoken a bit before in other videos how I'm not really a bit crush kind of guy. It just doesn't really play to the styles of music that I usually play to. But this thing is fantastic, just like every other Eventide app that I've reviewed. So let's dive right in. Here I am in 8 Matrix as always. And as always, I've got a nice dry electric piano sound going for you. Next to that, I've got Eventide's CrushStation, which we'll take a look at in a second. And then below that, I've got Atom Piano Roll that's going to play something completely uninteresting just so that I don't have to use my hands if I don't want to. So let's turn that off because that's obnoxious. All right, let's dive right into CrushStation. So this is in the same form factor as all the other Eventide apps that they've put out. Let's blast through real quick. If you look over here, you've got the input gain. Obviously, this is the loudness of the incoming signal into your app. Right next to that, you've got mix. You're mixing between the completely affected signal and the completely unaffected signal. Right next to that is drive. Now, drive is the amount of gain that you're going to be adding here in the amount of, well, distortion in drive. Okay, right next to that, sustain. Sustain has two functions. It can be post-distortion or pre-distortion, but you'll hear the difference in pre and post more when you start messing with the sag knob. Sag, it affects how it breaks up. They say that it's modeled after some sort of tube circuit or something that breaks it up. I don't know any of that. I just know how it sounds. We'll hear how it sounds in a second, but you're going to notice a distinct difference between the type of breakup when you push the sag to its highest settings when it's either pre-distortion or post-distortion. Okay, if we go next to that, octaves. Now, there's kind of a harmonizer built into this, and it adds other notes on top of your signal. So we'll see that when we get there. Grit is a second type of distortion, adds a little bit of low end, adds a little bit of a different flavor. Okay, on the very other side, you've got output. That's the outcoming signal of this app. If you go down to the bottom, so we have a gate in here. Now, because this is a distortion, any noise that gets put into this app is going to be amplified. So the gate in here is going to help get a handle on all that noise in between your playing. So it's got a slow attack or a fast attack. You got the gate on and off. Next to that, you've got the threshold settings, like when do you want the gate to kick in? How low a signal do you want it to trigger? Then you've got a quick EQ, bass, mids, a frequency knob for the mid-range, and then treble. Then lastly over here, you've got hot switch, which switches between two presets that you've selected, and then active, which turns the whole darn thing on and off. And then finally underneath this, you got the ribbon controller. I'll explain what that does in just a second. So I started up with a user preset here, flat. So I created this so that I could illustrate exactly what this app does really well. So here's our dry signal. Okay, let's switch to CrushStation here. Now, you're not going to notice any different because I got everything turned down. But let's turn up the drive first of all. I've got the mix 100%. Pretty cool, man. So it can get pretty brutal if you turn it all the way up on lower settings. It's a little more subtle. Now, I'm going to crank the drive so we can really hear the differences here. As I mentioned, sustain, I didn't really hear a difference in the sustain without messing with the sag knob. So I mean, I hear it more while I'm moving it than I do at the actual settings. But let's turn sag up high and let's hear how it breaks up with the distortion. So you can hear it's getting all crinkly. And if I keep going, now that's what it sounds like post. Now let's do it pre. So you can hear it's a bit different. Here's pre, here's post. So it breaks up a little different, gives you a bit of variety on what you want to do there. I'm going to turn the sag down. So now, let's turn post distortion 1, 0. There. It's going to be like that, is it? Okay, whatever. We're going to leave it on 1. And turn the drive all the way down. I have a pretty dry signal. Now listen what happens when I turn up the octave. You can have a total of 9 up and 9 down. Now, what does this sound like with the distortion? Let's turn this off. Oh, sounds big and beefy, right? I really like the octave setting, okay? Works really well on power chords, okay? So let's turn that down. Now, the octaves, you can just do down octaves, or if you keep turning it high enough, you can just do up octaves, okay? Now, grit. Let me turn the drive off. This, I heard this most with best with the highest notes. Like brings in some low end. It's a really, really subtle knob. I'm having trouble hearing I mean, I guess I'm having trouble hearing the subtleties of the grit knob, but there you go. That's what that does. All right, let's go down to the bottom. So let's crank up the distortion here. There we go. Let's turn that up. Okay, so now let's turn on the gate. Now you can hear it chops off all that noise. I don't really have much noise going on here because I'm using a plug-in to plug into it. But if you were using a guitar or something that has noise and ambient noise anyway, it's really helpful to have the gate. And you have a slow and a fast attack right above that. Next to that is EQ. So there's more bass. There's less bass. These are positive and negative. Going to the right is positive. Going to the left is negative. Mids. Now here's the frequency. Okay, if you want to have a built-in wah pedal, you can, and then treble. Okay, and then active turns it on or off. Hot switch, as I said, switches between 2 presets. Now, the ribbon controller on the bottom, what does this do? Now here, you'll notice on the drive knob that I have a blue line here, and there one end is a white dot, one end is a blue dot. Well, what happens is, as you move this ribbon controller back and forth, you'll notice that the knob moves from this end, from the white dot, to the blue dot. I can set any of my knobs that way. If I click here, I can move any of these knobs and it's going to set where that white dot is, or your starting point. Let's just move everything here. Then if I click this one, I can set the blue dot, and now it's going to swing and it's going to morph from the white to the blue and back again. So you can actively morph in real time between the settings. And that's a run through Eventide's CrushStation. I dig this thing. I am not a bit crush guy, and I dig this, especially on the roads, man. This, with the octaves on, that sounds brutal. Brutal. So, if you like this kind of video, give it a thumbs up. Go check out the Eventide apps. They're on the App Store right now. Please go check me out on Facebook, and check me out on Twitter, and check me out on Patreon. That's where you can pay me. All right, and, go do all the rest of the social media things, and I will see you guys next time, baby. Later.